What's going on, guys? My name is Tommy. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back once again for another episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship. Last week we talked about one of the great old ones, specifically Hastur. Today we're going to pivot and go to the other side of that. We're going to talk about the antithesis of the great old ones, that which floats up in the stars, watching out for them, protecting all of mankind from unspeakable horrors, the likes of which we puny mortals fail to comprehend. Specifically, we're talking about the Imperial Lord Black Butterfly. I decided today to talk about Black Butterfly because I didn't realize until accidentally in a Starfinder game that I'm playing, she is so antithetical to the great old ones that I love. And playing an operative in service to the great old ones in a party with two people who worship the Black Butterfly is nothing short of a mess. It's super fun, and if you want to watch it, be sure to check it out on the Inn of Planar Crossroads, those guys being our patrons. This episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship was brought to you by them. Anyone who creates content on the internet, from the itty-bittiest of teeny tiniest of YouTube channels such as my own, all the way up to the big names in the industry, are threatened by net neutrality's potential repeal. I know we've been going on about this a bunch, and I'm not trying to turn my channel into political discussion, but I happen to feel really strongly about this, and it affects every single solitary person who can hear my voice right now. So if you wouldn't mind spending 5 minutes of your time, if you haven't already, or if you already have, the links where you can help stand up for net neutrality and have your voice be heard are, as always, in the description. The Black Butterfly is a powerful Izada Imperial Lord, which in layman's terms is a demigod. Per legend, the Black Butterfly was created by Desna on accident. As she placed the stars in the sky, she made a pattern that, upon completion, manifested itself as the Black Butterfly. She views the Dark Tapestry as the worst of all evils. The Dark Tapestry, of course, being the darkness between the stars, where the inhabitants of Galarion believe true madness, aka the Great Old Ones, lie. The exact location of Black Butterfly's residence is unknown, but it's thought to hide in the dark spaces of the Stair of Stars, which lead to Desna's palace, Cynosure. Solemn and serene, the Black Butterfly never acts rashly, relying on the wisdom of the cosmos to guide her to the appropriate solution. She believes that the true nature of the multiverse lies in the gaps and silences between thoughts and ideas, so she never focuses on one topic or idea for too long, lest in narrowing her view, should she lose sight of the space beyond that idea's edge. While few beings can match her knowledge of the alien monstrosities that dwell in the deepest reaches of the Dark Tapestry, Black Butterfly refuses to share much of it, as she worries that widespread knowledge of her greatest nemesis, the Outer Gods and the Great Old Ones, would serve their interests rather than hers. She often journeys from her home in Elysium to subtly battle the interests of these foes and other forces of evil, or to assist those in need without ever revealing her true presence. The Black Butterfly looks like the silhouette of a woman that also has white hair and eyes. Her wings contain images of planets, stars, and galaxies, and I think this image of her is the closest we're going to come really to a true on-Earth equivalent, like we see in a lot of our other gods and locations and things like that. To me, Black Butterfly feels more like the representation of what humans worshipped on Earth before we'd really put together the concept of religion. When we didn't understand how the world worked around us, we just looked up and saw stars, and we asked why. We wondered. In that silence between, we begin to find answers to our own questions. And I think that Black Butterfly can slot in quite well there as just that silent thing hanging over our heads at night, watching out for us tiny little mortals and protecting us from things that we cannot begin to comprehend. Black Butterfly is the patron of distance, silence, and space. The silence between's worshippers include those for whom distances are essential, such as parted lovers or explorers, particularly those who brave the unfathomable depths of outer space. And yes, in Pathfinder in fantasy settings, that does in fact happen, as well as those who appreciate her connection to silence, such as the deaf and the mute. Worshippers of the Black Butterfly are encouraged to perform anonymous acts of charity without speaking to the recipient of their kindness, for the reason that such unseen gifts help foster the perception that good things sometimes happen to good people for no other reason that those good people deserve it. Black Butterfly's most sacred spaces are isolated mountains and shrines high atop mountain peaks, deep underground, or even floating on asteroids in the void of space. She teaches her followers that the greatest good lies in performing quiet, anonymous acts. Black Butterfly's holy symbol is a black-winged butterfly with a white star for a body on a field of purple. Her favored weapon, much like Desna, is the Star Knife. She grants access to the domains of Chaos, Good, Liberation, and Void, with the subdomains of Azada, both Chaos and Good, Freedom, Revolution, and Stars. And her alignment, of course, is Chaotic Good. Now, somebody must really like the Black Butterfly up at Paizo headquarters, because not only does she have a deific obedience, she also has a stat block in Bestiary 6. Yes, that's right, our evil characters can go rip her from the sky and beat her over the head with greatswords if that's the kind of game you want to run. We have that information, so we're going to talk about both of them. Black Butterfly's obedience requires us to perform an anonymous act of charity without speaking to or gazing upon whoever will benefit from your act. If you accidentally see or speak to the person you help, spend an hour blindfolded and praying in silence, then tithe to a temple of the Black Butterfly or another good god, giving preference to Desna. In return for this, you gain a +4 sacred bonus on saving throws against gaze and sonic attacks. Her celestial obedience from Chronicle of the Righteous gives us access at level 12 to Obscuring Mist thrice a day, Silence twice a day, or Deeper Darkness once a day. At 16th, you can cast Quickened Blindness Deafness once per day, and only a Break Enchantment, Limited Wish, Miracle, or Wish spell can restore the subject's sight or hearing. At 20th, your form grows shadowed and indistinct. You gain a +6 sacred bonus on stealth checks. In any condition of illumination other than full daylight, physical attacks against you have a 20% miss chance, but of course if an attacker can see ethereal or invisible creatures, this miss chance is negated. At will, you can manifest a pair of shadowy butterfly wings that allow you to fly with a speed of 60 feet average maneuverability. So not the worst in the world. If we're going up against one big bad over the course of a campaign, a Quickened Blindness Deafness that we just leave on him forever prevents him from running off, leveling up, coming back again, unless he's got a really high acrobatics check, because that's how blindness works. But other than that, I feel like if I wanted pure blind, I think I would just go the Shadow Dancer route. It's flavorful, and I mean, shadowy butterfly wings are sweet, but all in all, I think we can miss this one. Black Butterfly from Bestiary 6 tips the CR scale at 28. I guess that thing that Muhammad Ali said was right. Float like a butterfly, sting harder than most of the things in the bestiaries. We're not going to go too far into like her typing, her armor class, but we will talk about the special abilities she has. Black Butterfly adds her dexterity modifier instead of her strength modifier to her damage rolls with all melee and ranged weapons. So if you want to add dexterity to damage with a bow, this is the way to do it. Just convince your GM to play Black Butterfly. It'll be alright. She gains an insight bonus to her armor class equal to her wisdom modifier, and she ignores any effect that would reduce her movement speed or prevent her from taking a 5-foot step. Right off the bat, I'm pretty in love with this because I prefer to use my dexterity over my strength pretty much anytime I'm building a character. You guys can see how I feel about that in this min-maxing video right up here. And I also almost always will dip monk if I can get my wisdom high enough, because having my full wisdom and my full dex to my armor class is often better than dressing up in full plate mail with a tower shield and encumbering myself. Again, here's a min-maxing video for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. Black Butterfly never suffers any harmful environmental effects from outer space. She gains a +4 sacred bonus on attack rolls and saving throws when in such an environment, as well as the benefits of a ranger's favored terrain, up to a +10 bonus. Again, outer space in fantasy is perfectly doable. All of the worlds that exist in Starfinder existed first in Pathfinder, and whether we're riding around in giant space whales or teleporting betwixt the planets, we have means of getting there. If nothing else, I'm sure there's some kind of spell we can cast to make things turn into space to make sure that if we're going to use Black Butterfly as some kind of like end campaign encounter, we can get what we need. When Black Butterfly takes a 5-foot step, instead of moving 5 feet, she can ride the spaces in between breaths and thoughts, disappearing and rematerializing anywhere within 150 feet and attempting a stealth check to hide as a free action. She can hide even when being directly observed, and her stealth can defeat any sense, that being blind sight, life sense, tremor sense, true seeing, as long as the result of the check exceeds the result of the observer's perception check. She gains an additional +20 bonus on stealth checks, or +40 when immobile, which doesn't stack with the bonus from invisibility. and she can't be outlined by spells like Fairy Fire or Glitter Dust. If she's hidden when she begins a full attack, any creature that wasn't observing her is denied its dexterity bonus to armor class against all attacks in the full attack, not just the first. Black Butterfly loses access to her Silence Between ability when she's in an area of bright light, which is perfectly fine because we as Black Butterfly have Deeper Darkness at will, aka we will always never be in bright light unless we want to for some reason. Although she can use Interplanetary Teleport at will, Black Butterfly enjoys flying between the stars. When she does so, she travels at an incredible speed. Although exact travel times vary, a trip within a single solar system, so something like Galarion to Octurne to go fight some great old ones and then back again, should take 3d20 hours or more at the GM's discretion, or your discretion because you're probably GMing Black Butterfly, unless you're a player who actually got to play like Black Butterfly rolled down to 1 hit dice, in which case I want to hear all about that because that sounds sweet. Black Butterfly knows the routes to all destinations among the stars, meaning she can't get lost, meaning, weirdly enough, I didn't expect to see a ranger, but okay, yeah, sure, we'll play a space ranger. Black Butterfly's touch attack deals 10d6 points of cold damage and draws the breath from the target's lungs as she subjects the creature to the racking conditions of deep space. The creature can resist having its breath drawn out with a successful DC 37 fort save, otherwise the target is knocked unconscious by the sudden loss of oxygen. Steel breath does not harm creatures that do not breathe, but her touch attack can still deal cold damage. No sound passes through Black Butterfly's primal aura, that being 30 feet, except those that she allows, and even then she can choose to block a sound in some portions of her aura while allowing it to pass through other portions. While blocking sound, this aura functions similarly to silence. The ability is suppressed for 1d4 rounds whenever Black Butterfly is affected by a vision-based effect created by an evil creature, that being something like if your Gorgon has taken anti-paladin levels and hits her with a gaze attack. Black Butterfly wields a magic star knife called Void Sedge, specifically that being a +5 Aberration Bane Ghost Touch Holy Star Knife that exists as one of the stars in her wings until she calls it to her hand as a free action. When she throws Void Sedge, it returns to her hand instantly upon striking a target, which allows her, of course, to make multiple thrown attacks with the same weapon in a full attack action. Her range increment with this weapon is a whopping 120 feet. Attacks with Void Sedge deal an additional 2d6 points of fire damage and 2d6 points of cold damage on a hit when Black Butterfly wields this weapon. On top of that, if you're an aberration, you take 2d6. If you're any evil alignment, you're taking 2d6. And when I see weapons like these, I always get it into my head that one of these days, if I have a player who worships Black Butterfly, maybe Void Sedge is going to be a weapon that ends up in their hands. I won't spoil it here now because I imagine we're going to talk about them soon, but I did have a player who worshipped an Imperial Lord once, and he ended up with that Imperial Lord's weapon. And although at that point in the game it wasn't like super overwhelmingly powerful and I never really saw a lot of stuff happen with it, that player was still super happy with it. So let me be the first to say, if you have a player who's worshipping any of the Imperial Lords or any god who like specifically has a magic weapon, don't be afraid to hand it out to them. Maybe don't at level 1, here's this +5 Aberration Bane Ghost Touch Holy Star Knife. Maybe dumb it down a little bit and have it grow with them as they level. I'm just saying, it's a whole lot of fun, and the player will almost certainly love it. So what do you guys think of Black Butterfly? Have you ever worshipped her? Have you ever made her get corrupted by the great old ones and turned her into an endgame boss? That's a really good idea, and I need to use that at some point. If you have, or if you have any other interesting things to say about Black Butterfly, be sure to throw them in the comments below. If you have a request for the next deity we cover in this series, be sure to let us know so we can get right on it. And as always, like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of Wednesday Afternoon Worship drops next Wednesday.